57. Okay, well, let's get this ball rolling. Okay, we all got stuff to do, so let's go ahead and get started. Everyone can see my screen, right, Jaime? You good?
Yep, good to go.
Perfect. All right, coaches, welcome to the fall 2023 season coach orientation. First of all, thank you for being here. Um, we know you volunteer so much of your time already. This is important for coaches, especially new coaches. There's a ton of information we're going to go over. And so we appreciate your time. Real quick, little bit about me. My name is Joshua Schwartz. I'm the coach administrator here in 1463. I'm also the coach instructor. I've been a volunteer with AYSO for a long time, with the board for almost as long, and recently got a promotion to the Area 1R coach instructor. I wear a lot of hats: coach, referee, board member, and all around awesome guy. As you can see from some of these photos, I'm a photobomb extraordinaire. I will photobomb anyone and everyone. And my sidekick, Krista, is following in my footsteps. So keep it up, Krista. Good work. Just so you all know, I think there was a notice when you joined that this meeting is being recorded. Um, just a little covering our bases there. If you do have any questions during the presentation, and I'm sure there will be, you have a couple of options. You can just write them down on a little notepad or something, and then we can address any questions at the end. Or another option is you can use that little text chat feature. Shoot your questions in there, and some people might be able to answer them during the meeting. Or if not, we'll definitely get to them at the end. So there might be occasional times where we pause the meeting just to answer some of those questions too. So those are your options if you have any questions. But for now, just bear with us as we power through.
And real
So
quick, I'm sorry, Josh, real quick.
go for
So,
it.
what you guys might also see, and by the way, I'm Jaime, everybody. I'm the regional commissioner, real fast. I just want to let you guys know as well, if you guys put questions in the chat, you might see a few of us responding, right? Because we have Omar, we have Carlos on the line, we have Steve, we have Christy, we have a few other board members as well that are going to be answering questions. So don't be surprised if a few of us are chiming in at the same time. So just heads up on that.
Oh, good point. Thanks, Jaime. So real quick, here's the kind of outline of what we're going to go through. Like I said, a lot of information. Um, so just bear with us and let's get started. So real quick, anything you do with AYSO, whether it's online or in person, we always kind of start with how AYSO was built. Really, it's around this AYSO vision to provide world-class youth soccer programs that enrich children's lives. Enrich children's lives is there in bold and underlined because that's really the most important part of what we do in AYSO as coaches. And the way AYSO accomplishes that vision is through their mission to develop and deliver quality youth soccer programs which promote a fun family environment based on our 6 core philosophies, which we'll run to real quick. Everyone plays. So real quick, what that means, everyone plays. AYSO national guidelines require each player to play 50% of each game. Here in 1463, that requirement is 75% or 3/4 of each game. So keep that in mind. There are certain occasions where numbers on rosters don't always allow for every player to play 3/4. Um, that's a rare instance, but it does happen. Just make sure that the players that are sitting more that game don't sit more the next game. So that's up to you as a coach to keep track of. But everyone plays. That's what that is. Balanced teams. We do a lot in this region to try and create as balanced teams as possible. We don't want one team having all the really experienced players and another team having all the new inexperienced players. So we do player evaluations before the season starts. A lot of you might have been a part of that. We also do coach evaluations at the end of each season where coaches give their player a score 1 through 5. And we use all of that information to try and create balanced teams for future seasons based on that scoring system. Open registration just means that there's no location-based restrictions with AYSO. If I live in Los Angeles and want to play in Marietta, I can. Um, I can live anywhere and play anywhere in AYSO. Open registration. Positive coaching, super important. It's pretty self-explanatory. Coaches use positive messages and tone, always providing positive criticism and coaching to help build your players' skill development. Good sportsmanship, also pretty self-explanatory. Um, Show good sportsmanship at all times, towards the referees, towards the other team. Win or lose, be a good sport about it. That's really what that's about. And then, of course, player development. Everyone loves to win. Everyone wants to win their soccer games. But really, what we're about here at AYSO is the players' development and growth. So, coaches, our job as board members, and my job as the coach administrator is to provide you the information and tools to be successful with that. Cool beans. So here's a little bit about our section in our area. It's surrounded by, um, you know what? I didn't update these icons, Jaime. You told me. Anyway, these are a bunch of other regions that are in our section area, especially for the upper division teams. We're going to be playing a lot of these regions either at our own home fields or at their fields. So this is what consists of Section 1, Area 1R. Supporting the kid zones, this is really important. Anytime you're at an AYSO function, these rules apply. Kids are always number one. Fun, not winning is everything. Really important. Make sure the fans and the parents are there to cheer. Only the coaches should be coaching. If any of you have been through any of my coaching classes, I probably drilled this into you. It shouldn't be the first time you're hearing it. Definitely no yelling and anger. Of course, that goes against positive coaching. So always be positive. Respecting the volunteer referees. No swearing, alcohol, all that stuff. Definitely no weapons. Pick up your trash. Leave no trash behind. Set the proper example of good sportsmanship and always celebrate the player, win or lose. So super important. And then we'll roll right into volunteering. Everything we do here at AYSO is volunteer, but I'll let Carlos take it from here, okay?
Hey guys, how you doing? As Josh said, I'm Carlos. If you guys can see me, I'm waving right here. I'm Carlos Torres. Most of you have spoken to me. I asked you to kindly volunteer and coach, and that's amazing. So thank you so much for doing that. We really, really appreciate it. We appreciate everything you do. So myself, Josh, Jaime, all the board members are here for you. You guys ever need anything, feel free to always reach out to us. Again, when I spoke to you, I always told you that we'll help you as much or as little as you want. So we're always going to be here for you. So just remember that, please. Okay, so what is an AYSO volunteer? Of course, a volunteer is any person that's involved in our region, from the coaches to the referees, the board members, registered fundraisers, field managers. Omar, go ahead and wave, Omar. Yeah, Omar, if you, there, that's Omar right there, magnificent field manager, field coordinator. He's the one that takes care of all the fields and coordinates with the cities and stuff. He does an amazing job. Um, Anyways, basically everyone, the main thing is that everyone in our region is a volunteer. No one gets paid, including myself, Jaime, Josh. All of us do it for the love of the sport and so that your kids can enjoy playing soccer in an organized environment, have fun while playing it, and of course for, obviously helping out the community. So it's amazing. That's what we do. So without volunteers, we wouldn't be able to run the organization. There's no way us as board members can coach every team or organize the entire league. We definitely need you guys, the assistant coaches, and then we're going to need you guys to help us recruit more volunteers to do more activities. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Now, who can be a volunteer? Anyone can be a volunteer. It does not matter. There are certain age requirements for certain things. Obviously, for coaching, you do have to be 18 or older, but pretty much everything else would be okay. We also allow youth referees, and we'll talk. I don't want to steal the thunder away from the ref. Youth referees are allowed, 12 and older, but anybody can do it. Anybody, as long as they have a positive attitude, a willingness to help, and then of course go through the training, safety training. Anyone can do it. So we encourage everyone and anyone to help us. Go ahead, Josh. So anyways, as I said, coaches, assistant coaches, referees, assistant referees, youth referees, epic buddies and stuff. So yeah, anyone, and we encourage anyone to help us. We want as much help. And again, volunteers, when you volunteer, even to be a board member, you don't have to spend hours and hours and days and all day there on Saturdays either. It's just as much time as you possibly can give. That's what we're asking for. If everyone does a little, it adds up to a lot. Now, to be a volunteer, like I said, you do have to have past safety requirements. I know some of you have joked with me and said that this is more work. Being a coach is more work than actual job, right? The good news is, yes, it is a lot in the beginning, but when you decide, or I know you're going to decide, to coach again, it is lifetime, right? So once you go through it once, the only thing you have to do the next season is to do the volunteer application. Takes 2 minutes, and for the most part, you're good to go. Unless you're aging up a division, you'd have to do the next division's training. Other than that, everything else is pretty much lifetime. So that's amazing. So if you're a new coach, yes, in the beginning it seems a little tedious, but once you get through that, you're fine and stuff. So sometimes there'll be some little refreshers you have to do on some of the courses. For example, Safe Sport. But even that one, the refresher is like 20 minutes. I just did it this year myself, so it's not very long. You guys are all familiar with these: Safe Haven, CDC concussion, sudden cardiac arrest, Safe Sport, live scan certification, which is fingerprinting, and then of course all the coach and assistant coach certifications, and lastly the referee certification. And some people ask me, Carlos, why do I have to be certified as a referee? I'm a coach. Well, for many reasons, but for two primary reasons. One, that we want to make sure that every head coach and assistant coach understands the laws of the game at a basic level, at least, right? So some of you are either beginning coaches for soccer, first time coaching soccer, or some of you are experienced soccer players, right? But each age division has a few little rules and little tweaks to it, right? So as you go from 8U to 10U to 12U, the game becomes a little bit more like an actual official soccer game. But when you start at 8U, 8U has very different rules when it comes to the laws of the game and stuff. So that's why we do that. And then the second reason is that, again, everyone in AYSO is a volunteer, including the referees. We encourage you to referee a couple games, or to encourage other people on your team to also become referees, right? So that we have referees for every game. You will see as you progress and stuff, whatever. We pride ourselves in making sure we provide enough coverage and referee coverage for every game. Very rarely do we have a game where we don't have referees, right? So it's important to have referees to make sure that the game stays organized, and everybody has fun at the same time. Being a referee is not hard. We have referee mentors. The ref group has developed a referee mentoring group program. We will be by your side until you feel comfortable. So you don't have to be afraid. We will be by your side, literally by your side, to make sure you're okay until you're comfortable. And when and if you are comfortable, that's when we let you go and fly on your own, right? So up until then, perfectly okay. And we have zero tolerance for anyone talking back, disrespecting the referee at any point, anytime. So we do not allow that. Go ahead. Josh, I just talked about that. We have zero tolerance. Respect the referees, respect the volunteers. Everyone's doing out there for the league, for the organization, and for the kids to play and stuff. But anyway, I did have some people tell me, Carlos, why do we have to do so much? Why do we have to do it? Listen, AYSO is just that. It's a volunteer organization where, for me, I've been doing this now for, I don't know, I want to say 7 years. I know Jaime's probably doing it longer. Josh has done it longer, so whatever. It's amazing, man. It's a great organization. We bond together. We do well. And at the end of the day, man, I like being out on Saturday, looking around, seeing all these kids having so much fun playing soccer, and the parents just happy to watch their kids play and stuff, whatever. It is, for me, a truly beautiful thing. It's like my stress reliever. When I see all those kids smiling and stuff, whatever, it's just amazing for me. So that's why I do it. So at the same point, we always want to make sure we respect the referees. You as coaches, make sure you control your sidelines. We ask that you always talk to your parents, regardless of the calls, good or bad. We always respect all the volunteers, all the referees, all the board members, all the coaches. So um, just remember that. Continue. Board members, again, you can volunteer to be a board member. Again, some of you are just new coaches, so I'm not gonna, rush you into becoming a board member, but we definitely could use your help. So if you ever want to become a board member, feel free to reach out to any one of us or reach out to me. I'm the volunteer coordinator. And I'll give you the steps and instructions. Again, it's not hard. It's just if everybody contributes just a little bit, it adds up to a lot. That's what basically the formula, right? So if everyone helps a little bit, it adds up to a lot. But here are all the positions we currently have right now. Jaime is our regional commissioner. Go ahead and wave Jaime. He introduced himself earlier. That's Jaime, that guy right there. He does so much. If you guys see him on the field, please make sure to give him a huge thank you, shake his hand, and tell him thank you for everything he does. He keeps us all organized, but he puts in a lot of work. Man. It's like a second and a third job for him, but he does it for all of us, right? That's why he does it. So that's amazing. We have an assistant regional commissioner, actually Christy. I don't know if Christy's still on. Christy is another person who does a lot. She's a registrar. You'll see her. You'll meet her. Trust me. She does so much behind the scenes. She doesn't like to take credit for anything, but she is also another person that does so much work and is amazing. But anyway, so we have treasurer, secretary, coach admin. Josh does an amazing job too. Ref admin, Morrow. and so on and so on. We have so many board members, but we need your help. We definitely need division coordinators for every division to help us coordinate the divisions and answer questions for them. And so, and again, if you ever want to become a volunteer board member, let me know. We'll help you. How do you sign up? Just go to our website, get on the volunteers tab, hit volunteer portal. The easiest way you can actually do it is just call me. You all have my number. Call me. I'll help you. We'll do it together. And it's a lot of fun. It truly is a lot of fun to be involved, not only in our organization, but also behind the scenes to help make decisions to influence the league and stuff, whatever. So, and I think that was it. That's my email address. That was it. Oh, everything goes on to me again. Uh, Okay, so that's the volunteer program, right? Now, because of the volunteer program, we have a volunteer points program. Okay, go ahead, Josh. So what does that mean? That means in order to qualify, we didn't change that though, but in order to qualify for our tournament, our playoffs, right? Every league has playoffs. We call it, it used to be called Commissioner's Cup. It's actually called now the Gem of the Valley tournament. That's a new name for our end of the season playoff tournament, Gem of the Valley. So we decided to change it. Marietta's, that's kind of their slogan in Marietta and stuff, whatever. So we changed it to that. Now, in order to participate in the playoffs, you have Gem of the Valley Cup. Sorry, Gem of the Valley Cup. Everyone has to 8U through 12U is what this pertains to, right? The Gem of the Valley tournament. Everyone has to do the volunteer points 8U and above. Okay, so the volunteer point program system is 8U, 10U, 12U, 14U, 16U, and 19U. The Gem of the Valley Cup tournament is 8U, I'm sorry, well, 8U through 12. Everyone has to hit certain volunteer points or duties per category. And here are the categories. So if you look in the middle, it says tent duty, field lining duty, taking pictures, coach certifications, which most of you are already done with that, refereeing, becoming a certified ref, and also providing referees for games or yourself refereeing, referee certifications, what we talked about already, setting up the fields, and then or becoming a certified team pair. So these are the things that the volunteer point system involves. Each one of those, don't think of it as total volunteer points. Think of it as categories, and each category has X amount of required points. And you have to hit those in order to go into the playoffs. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, move on. Go ahead, Josh. Um, Again, so here are the point requirements. Individual, each division is a little different, and I'm going to email you the if you're in 8U, I'm going to email you the 8U requirements. If you're in 10U, I'll email you the requirements and so on and so on. But real quick, here are the requirements for the points. There's one for head coach certified, which most of you have already done. Also being certified as a referee, which most of you have already done. And the referee points, each division is different, but each division has to have X amount of referee points required. Miscellaneous points is 10 points for every division. Tent duty is 4 points for every division. Sportsmanship points. So that is based on how you behave on the field, right? So if on the field you happen to, sorry, my phone rang. If you happen to be a bad sport, start yelling, or parents start yelling, then you're going to lose points, right? And if you lose points, even if you're in first place, you're not going to go into the playoffs, right? So it's again, that's the zero tolerance thing we have, right? So picture points, we act for 4 action shots plus a pin winner on a weekly basis. And then lastly is the player evals that we ask you to complete before the season's over so that we can have ratings on your players for the following season. So again, to balance out the teams. So this whole volunteer point system is based on categories and required points per category, right? So, and some very rarely does it happen, but sometimes it does, where a first place team does not have enough volunteer points to go into playoffs, right? Which means they don't ever go into playoffs, which sucks, right? So we don't ever want that to happen. That will never happen to you because I am going to remind you, I'm going to ask you, I am going to help you. Okay. There's no way. The only way you're not going to make it to the playoffs is if you just flat out don't want to go. Right. If you just say, and I actually had a coach tell me one time, please don't be that coach. I had a coach one time tell me, Carlos, I don't even want to go to the playoffs. Okay, then. So there's nothing I can do there, right? Unfortunately, though, the parents got all upset when they realized that they weren't going to the playoffs because they were a first place team, right? So, and I tried communicating with, and it's not like they didn't know either because Jaime does a really good job of sending emails out and stuff, and he would let the parents know also, but nobody cared until it came down to the playoffs, and then unfortunately they couldn't make it. And I have a really hard time with that, but I do know that we have to stick with it because the reason we do this for the kids, And it's right. It's not fair for one team to do it, another team not to do it, and then they get to go to the playoffs. So I felt really bad for that team and really bad for those kids. But we have to follow a rule. So please, please don't be that coach. Please, if you need help with any of these volunteer points, we will help you. Okay, that's not an issue. We don't want anyone not to go. We just want everybody to help a little, again, which adds up to a lot. Go ahead, Josh. Opening tasks. So on game days, please make sure, coaches, that if you're the first game on that field, and you'll know because you'll have the schedule. If you're going to be the first game on that field, you need to make sure you're 30 minutes early. You should always be 30 minutes early, anyways, but you should be 30 minutes early and help to make sure the field has been set up. It is going to be set up by Omar and the people that volunteer on Fridays, because Omar and the people volunteer on Fridays will set everything up so that we're ready to go on Saturday. But you still have to come double check to make sure everything's still there, everything's set up correctly, there's no gopher holes, there's no safety issues, there's no trash. We make sure everything is good to go. And then if you're the last game of the field on that field, then we ask you to help us tear it down. So you ask the parents to help you take down the flags, take down the goals, take down the nets, put everything away, and just take it to us at the board tent, and we'll put them away over there. But please take everything to us, right? Because we're always walking around doing stuff, whatever. It's hard for us to tear down the fields, and it's a lot easier for your team to just use the parents and just take it down. And, again, if everybody helps a little, it adds up to a lot. Here is a QR code. If you want to, real quick with your phone, if you just want to scan that with your camera app, it'll take you to the volunteer points before I even email it to you. Just quickly scan on it, and then it takes you to the link. I'm going to send it to you anyways if you don't want to, but that's just one real quick. If you want to read it and stuff, you can have it on your phone and save it on your phone. But I am going to email it to you. So the volunteer point system is designed so that everyone helps per category. It's from 8U to 19U. 8U, 12U will be in the Gem of the Valley Cup. I'm sorry, 10U and 12U will be 8U. Actually, I skipped that part. I'm sorry, 8U this year, for those of you who are returning coaches, 8U is going to be different. They are still going to participate in the Gem of the Valley event. It's not going to be a cup necessarily, but we are going to do something special for them. First place will play second place, third place will play fourth, fifth will play sixth, and so on and so on. There will only be one game for 8U division. If they win their game, they're going to get a special treat from Carl's Jr., sponsored by Carl's Jr., a special treat that they'll have. They'll either be like some family meals or something, or maybe a team party where everything gets paid for, or something like that. It'll be something fun for the 8U division stuff. So go ahead, Josh, keep going. I tried to go fast, and I think that's it. If you have any questions about the volunteer, I know it's really quick. Please make sure you reach out to me. I'm going to email it to you anyways. And if you have any other questions, I'm here for you. You can call me anytime. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Carlos. So moving right along about our referee program, and I think, Steve, you're going to run this tomorrow, yeah?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Steve Diethelm. I've been part of AYSO for going on 17 years now. Been part of this region going on into my third year. Enjoyed it a lot of good people here, and I've enjoyed continuing my opportunity to help our kids get to play soccer. So let's move on to our first slide. You all should have seen this from some of your training. I just wanted to use this as a reminder that, we're all in this together, the coaches, the referees, the parents, we're all here to support the kids. And I really want to make sure that we are all working together to create a positive environment for our players and make this region a great place to play soccer. And I know my past experience is that we do that well, but I just wanted to emphasize that we continue to do that and continue to make that stronger. All right, next slide, please. So what is our role as a referee? Right, the referee here is responsible for enforcing laws of the game, and we need to keep it fair, safe, and fun. So for those of you who've taken the referee training, that comes right out of the training. And for those of you who will be taking the training, you'll get to see that soon. And why is it important that we have referees? Well, for any game 8U and above, if there's not a certified referee available to officiate that game, the game can't be played. So all of the work that the coaches and the parents put into the week to get players to practice, all of the game planning you do, and your substitution plans and alignment lineups and all that go to waste because we cannot play the game without a referee. So it's very important that we continue to grow our referee crew so that we can make sure that all our games get played. And as we've heard previously with Carlos's statements, as referees, we're volunteers too, and we're human and we make mistakes. And so it's important that we all work together to keep this a positive environment for our players and for all of the volunteers that are working the games. All right. So always referees are needed. Said, we need them to run the games. Being a referee is a very rewarding volunteer experience. It is one of the best ways to watch a game is to be out in the middle of the field, following play, and to see a play evolve and to watch that. It's like you're your own sky cam. It's really awesome. So I really would encourage everyone to get out there and do it. As we've said, and I'll talk a little later about this, we have a mentoring program that'll be there to help you. We're here to make you succeed. All right, next slide, please. All right, so we have a number of opportunities for your certifications to get completed here in the region, so you don't have to travel. All of the dates are listed there. The classes will be from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at Warm Springs. We'll be at the bleachers up along the fence. So that will be the second half of the course you need to take. You do need to complete training online in eTrainU. And then when you come to the class, you can complete your certification and then you'll be ready. Please note, and we'll talk about this in a few other slides, but youth referees are always welcome to attend these classes. We want to grow our youth program. All of these classes are meant for all of our volunteers, adult and youth. So, and our youth referees will be taken care of also very carefully with our mentoring program. So for the coaches that still need to complete your certification, or any of your children that want to become referees, please go ahead and take the class online. Pass the test and then come to one of these 5 classes so that you can, or 6 classes that you can get your certification. All right.
Real quick, Steve, if you don't mind me interrupting real fast. So everybody, as you guys probably saw, Steve, by the way, and Mauro, and I believe Al Prado at some point, they're going to be doing all of those or a majority of those classes, if not all of them. And it's fantastic resource. Definitely make sure you can go to them. But keep in mind, there might be a few of you that even see those dates and start thinking, I can't make any of them. You know what I mean? So keep in mind that there are also other classes that occur in other regions, right? There's Menifee, there's French Valley, there's Paris, there's all these other regions, Corona, there's all these other regions that do these companion courses as well. So if you can't make those dates, talk to Steve, talk to Carlos. We could probably give you information as far as what other regions are doing for you guys to make those classes. So that's it for me.
Or go into eTrainU and you can search by distance for a class and you can find them on a date that would be available for you. So eTrainU is a great resource to be able to find those classes if those 6 dates don't work over the next couple of weeks. And so we did reference the referee mentor program. We are here to help you become successful as a referee and to enjoy the experience as much as the advanced referees are doing now. So as you need them, we'll make arrangements for you to have a mentor be there with you. We sit there with your pregame, are available to answer any of your questions. We do our observations, maybe get some feedback at half just to give you some pointers. And at the end of the match, we'll do not a long debrief, but just a debrief on things that we saw that were good, a few things that we think that you might be able to work on, and then we'll come back and follow up on the next week as needed to help you so that you can grow and feel comfortable so that you can manage the games yourself without any assistance. But also know that as you grow as a referee and you want to advance your badge, the mentor program is here to help you advance your badge also. So it's not just for new referees, but it's for our more experienced referees that are looking to advance their badge. So, and as I mentioned, this, the mentoring program is very focused on all our youth to make sure that they have a good experience when they're out on the field. And if you have any questions about the mentor program, please feel free to reach out to me and I can talk to you about it. And as we said, we really welcome our players and their siblings to become referees. Just note a youth referee must be 2 years older than any player in the game they're officiating. So that would say for someone doing a 10U game, they need to be 12 years old. But as they get experience and would want to try to do a U12 game, they'd have to be 14 years old as they stay with the program. So 2 years older than any game. As mentioned many times, you're fully supported by the referee mentor program. And we should point out that our youth referees can collect hours towards their required community service requirement. So that is a benefit that can be afforded to our youth referees. And Carlos also mentioned this earlier, but our region has a zero tolerance policy for dissent or abuse of youth referees. Any of that activity by any coach or parent will be dealt with by the board, and those individuals will be sanctioned. And new this year from IFAB is a simplified view of the laws of the game, which for some people on the staff are upset by the name that it's called football rules. The rules part is what bothers them because they are laws of the game, not rules. But nonetheless, there is a website out on the ifab.com that has this available, and there are also apps for Android and iOS that you can have available to make it easier to understand what's going out on the field and to help you and your parents understand the laws better in a more simplified way. So it may be something beneficial to encourage your parents to download. I will certainly be sending that message to the parents meeting tomorrow. So same thing. But anyway, it's out there. I recommend you download it and take a look at it. It is helpful.
Real quick on my end, just so you guys know, it's available now on the website. So if you go to the referee portal, it's available there. And if you're curious whether or not you're going to get a copy of this presentation, you guys absolutely will. I'll make sure to create a PDF version of it. I will more than likely post it on the site late tonight. So I'll let Josh know. So then, Josh, you can ping everybody, all the coaches, and let them know that it's available. But it'll be up there. The PDF will be up there, and you'll be able to click these links as well. So heads up on that.
And there's our handsome referee administrator, Mara, who is away on a work commitment right now. But if you have any questions, you can reach out to him or reach out to me. My email address is out on the website also, if you have any questions or concerns. And on our volunteer portal, you can go to the referee portal, and there's a lot of different information out there related to laws of the game, there's just a bunch of information out there that you might find helpful. And again, if you have any questions, just please reach out to me. I'm generally on the fields all day Saturday. So if you have any questions, just reach out.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to a good season.
Yes. Thank you, Steve. That was great, man. Appreciate it. Do we have Jim on the call?
Yeah, I'm on here.
All right. So without further ado, Mr. Jim Simpson.
Thank you. As Josh said, my name is Jim Simpson. I'm the safety director. I'm also your referee scheduler, so part of the referee team that way, and so you'll see emails from me regarding that as the season goes on. I just want to echo what Steve said about how rewarding the referee experience is. That's how I got started being a volunteer with AYSO, and it's now my 11th year I was counting up in this region, and then a little bit more time in youth soccer with my older son. But for your parents that are out there that you're trying to get to sign up for referees and be part of that program, like I'm a perfect example of somebody that didn't have any soccer experience, never played that growing up, never watched any games, never did anything until I was watching my kids. And it's something that really it doesn't take too much to learn, and is something that can be very rewarding. So I'll switch now gears and go into safety. If you want to advance. So one thing that to remember is that AYSO 1463 does not cancel any games due to rain. That can be different if there's severe weather in the area, such as really high winds, thunder, lightning, things of that. But we do not stop just because of rains. Now, however, the city of Murrieta may do so. They do that frequently. They try to protect their fields. When the fields get wet and sloppy, then basically the cleats that the kids are wearing tears those fields up a lot. And you can really see some of that, damage that's done at the end of the year just from normal play. But if they allow the kids to play on wet fields, really happens. So we do have rainouts. We try as best we can to, let you know as soon as possible whenever the fields are closed and games or practices are canceled. But again, we don't close normally due to rain unless the city does close the fields. Now, if there is thunder or lightning in the area, then play is going to be stopped immediately and everyone should leave and go to a safe area. That's typically your car. Play cannot resume until after all the thunder and lightning in the area has stopped. If basically with the heat, if the day is deemed hot, then all games will be given an extra water break per quarter. That does not extend the time of the game. That's one thing to remember. So make sure that your players and your families are aware of that so we can kind of move quickly in those water breaks. It's still a running clock. I use a website to like look at the heat index basically and a lot of different factors to determine whenever we do that. We try to communicate that to the coaches, but the main place that we communicate that is to our referees. So at the referee tent, we'll be letting them know whenever we're instituting those extra water breaks. We do, want to make sure that you guys are following those safety guidelines on your practices. So make sure that you're giving the kids plenty of water breaks whenever it is hot out. Especially this time of year, it's always very hot in the early season of our fall season. The spring season isn't quite as bad. It doesn't get hot until the last few weeks and the kids are in a little bit better shape. So it doesn't seem to affect them as much, but you want to be really careful with, how much you're having the kids water and how much you're pushing them in those practices. All right. We will try to avoid cancellations if at all possible. And sometimes it can be very difficult to make up games. So if makeup games do become available, we'll notify the parents and coaches as soon as possible whenever we make those schedule changes. So in the past, we've had some Saturday, Sunday weekend combos and things like that where we've tried to get that in. But we do the best we can. Sometimes we've ran out of time and we're unable to, do a week or so. We've had a few years where it's been, a lot of inclement weather early in the season, but most of that occurs in the spring usually. So not too much of those same kind of effects in the fall. So one thing to keep in mind whenever we're always thinking about the safety of the kids is non-registered players and volunteers that are not registered cannot participate in any practices or any games. So siblings cannot help during practices. If you have parents that want to help, we do have a method for that. So we need to make sure that they register as a volunteer. You can add them as an assistant coach. There's really no limit on assistant coaches that you can have during the season, but there is limits on how many can be on the sidelines coaching. But for your practices, you can have, as long as they're registered volunteers, they can, make sure and be on the field during your practices to help. Now, under no circumstances should adults play in scrimmages or games. That includes playing games with other adults or minors. So whether they're registered or not, that's something that is very important to like our AYSO insurance policies and things of that nature. And so we cannot have an adult injuring a kid, even if it's accidental, during a scrimmage or game during practice. One thing to keep in mind, if we do have club linesmen, we very rarely have to go to this. We have a very robust referee program, as Steve brought up earlier. But if we do have to have a club linesman on the field as in the AR position and running, the line to just call when a ball goes in or out, they are not covered by our insurance policy. So if we're asking for a volunteer for that from, your parents, you want to make sure that they're aware of that. If somebody volunteers to be a club linesman, we can start the game without assistant referees, but we cannot start without a center referee. Now, for age group 10U and under, your parents must remain on the field with the children at all times. So not out onto the practice field, but basically they cannot do drop-offs and go run errands or anything like that. They need to stay with their child for ages 10U and under. That changes a little bit when they get to 12U and that we don't necessarily have to have a parent there. But at 10U and under, they need to be there at all times. So please make sure and cover that. We'll cover that in the parent meeting tomorrow, but whenever you're having your first meeting with your team and your parents, make sure that you cover those things if you are a 10U or under coach. Please For our parents, you want to encourage them to feel free to discuss any type of concerns with your coach or with the region. And you guys as coaches, please come to us with any like special requests, that you have. So that can include learning disabilities, that can include medical conditions, that can include food allergies for teams that have snacks, things like that. We'll make sure that the region works with you to try to accommodate, as best we can, all of our players so that they all have a very good, rewarding experience. So as coaches, if a parent comes to you with a concern and you're unable to handle that, please ask any of our board members for support. Just give us an email. And even if you don't email the person that can help handle that, we'll make sure that we filter that out to the right person. All of our safety protocols are available on the safety tab on our website. So please just go to there to review those. You'll want to encourage your parents to do those to review those as well. Always remember that any kind of physical contact with players is not allowed. So sometimes that's, very difficult. We want to, kind of pat a kid on the back and those things, but AYSO regulations state that that physical contact, because of our safe sport policy, is not allowed. So no back rubs, no shoulder rubs, no hugs. That includes, grabbing their arms to move them around the field. You don't want to move a player, where they could consider that forcefully moving them into position or anything like that. So this can open us up to possible safe sport related violations. So please do the best you can, to avoid that kind of physical contact with your players, whenever you're out on the practice field and on the game fields. Please keep in mind, and you'll want to cover this with your parents, that no pets are allowed at any AYSO function. That includes all activities, including practices and games. Now, service animals are okay, but you want to make sure that that is an actual service animal. Things like emotional support animals do not actually count as a service animal. So if you have an issue with a parent that's wanting to bring an animal, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to have somebody attend one of your practices if it's something that's not occurring at the games. So go over this with your parents. Make sure that they understand that. Service animals have very specific criteria of what tasks they are trained to do and how they are helping that individual. Most of the time, those service animals are on leashes, and it's kind of obvious whenever it's an actual service animal compared to someone who's wanting to use the emotional support type of animal to basically bring a pet to the field. So talk to your parents about that. Make sure they're informed. So you can contact me at safety@ayso1463.org. For any information regarding our safety protocols, you can go to our website, highlight the volunteers tab, and select our safety portal. And it's going to have, all the trainings, all of our guidelines, all the contact information. Like I said, I'm out at the fields on almost every game day. So anything that you need, please, feel free to approach me and reach out. And then I'm sure I'll be talking to you on the referee schedules as well. So that does it for me, I think.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. Trucking right along, or do we need to stop for anything?
No, I mean, right now it's mostly been the board kind of mentioning a bunch of stuff on the chat. So I think we're good.
Perfect. Moving right along. Ooh, my favorite part, coaching. Here we go. Coaching at AYSO 1463. So once again, any of you that have taken any of my coach trainings, this should look and sound familiar to you. Look, we don't need to read these line by line, but really this is a coach's pledge. And what that really means is, as an AYSO coach, you really are expected to be held to a pretty high standard. Being positive, being responsible, all of those things are involved of that standard. And so, this coach's pledge and those 6 philosophies, if you're just sticking with these, you really can't go wrong. Okay. So just remember that as coaches, there is definitely a standard. Okay. Coaches aren't the only people held to a standard in AYSO. Players are too. Your players and parents should be aware of this. And I encourage all of you as coaches to give this to all of your players, so they understand what their expectations are. Really they need to behave, right? They can't just come to the field and start kicking stuff around or pushing other kids or doing anything out of line. So the players definitely have to be held to that standard too. This is there you can use as a tool so that everyone's aware of what your standards are, what your expectations of your players should be. And moving on to my favorite, the parents. Parents are also held to a standard. This is super important because unfortunately it's hard to say, but most of the issues that we have during games and practices um, are stemmed from parents and for whatever reason or another. The best way as coaches to kind of um, uh, reduce or eliminate that as much as possible is to make sure your parents understand and read this too, that they are held to a standard as well. Send this to them, uh, make sure they understand it and make sure they know what your expectations are um, as a parent from you as a coach. One of the biggest things that happens, it tends to happen after a game, especially if it's like a tough loss or whatever. As soon as that player gets in the car with mom or dad, what tends to happen? Mom or dad will start talking about how they missed this or how they weren't running hard enough or anything like that. Like really, you gotta tell your parents can't do that. Focus on the positive, encourage the kids, especially on that ride home. If the player's in that situation, chances are they're already, kind of down on themselves. They're disappointed already. The parents need to understand that situation and not kind of kick them when they're down, if you will. Um, so that's super important there. Keep the parents positive along with the coaches. That's really what this is about. So communication is huge. Communicating with your parents is definitely huge. They have to get the information you send them and they have to know how to get that information. So make sure you contact your parents right away. I know none of you have your rosters yet. Usually rosters get sent out either tonight or tomorrow. Usually it's right after this coaches meeting. So you should be getting your roster soon. When you do, make sure you contact your parents right away. Make sure you confirm email addresses. Some parents have 2, 3, 4 email addresses. Make sure you know which one is their primary, the best way to communicate with them. Also phone numbers and everything like that. If you communicate via email and don't get a response, follow up with a phone call, which really you should be making the initial phone call anyways. But definitely if you don't get a response, call them. Make sure you give them the info. So any info related to our region can be found on our website. There's more information than any one person can digest. We're also huge on Facebook. That's our Facebook link, and Instagram is right there. So make sure your parents have that information. So this is important. Good and timely communication will save you a lot of work and headaches at the end. Sometimes things change, like Jen mentioned. Sometimes games get canceled or schedules have to shift or anything like that. Sometimes it's even last minute. You have to be able to get that word out, and you have to make sure your parents are getting the word that you put out. Just the FYI, when you are emailing, some people don't like their information being public, so make sure you use that BCC function. You can type in all the email addresses you want. They don't show up on the recipient side. So use that BCC function if you are using email. Team apps are super, super cool. Any returning coaches, we definitely encourage you to use this Game Changer app. It's one we've been using for the past several seasons. It really is fantastic. We're going to get a little more into that later, but these team apps are really awesome. They're a great way to communicate. All your schedules are on there. You can chat with your parents, send messages, photos, everything like that. So if you don't have this Game Changer app, make sure you download it and use it this season. Moving right along, speaking of the Game Changer app. So it's a team communication application that we encourage you all to use in 1463. You can control roster settings, all that stuff. Coaches and players can view calendars, all the events, including practices, everything like that. You can send messages and photos, all that stuff. And really one of the coolest things about this Game Changer app is you can live stream your game. So have one of your parents on the sideline or whatever, go into the app and just hit start live, start game or start live stream, I think it says. And then your game is being streamed live. So anybody can log in, tune in, and watch that kid's game or your team's game live. A grandma and grandpa that live all the way across the country can log in and watch your grandkids play soccer. Really, really cool feature. As far as communication, it's not just with your team. Obviously, you're going to be communicating a lot with myself, with Carlos, and especially your division coordinators. This is really important, coaches, that we need division coordinators. Carlos touched on it. There's a few open positions. And really what the division coordinators do is they should be your primary resource for coaches. For all of you coaches, your division coordinator should be your first stop. I know it's super easy to call Carlos or myself or whatever, and we will help you. We'll get you your answers. But coaches, please start utilizing these division coordinators for any questions you have, any issues you have. And if you see this position open sign, that means we need you in there. So let Carlos know if you're interested in division coordinator. You're basically going to be kind of a middleman, a stopgap for the thousands of emails and phone calls that Carlos gets every day. So just helping.
I don't think he should have led with the thousands of emails there, but you know that
it was an exaggeration, but we all know how much work Carlos does. But so we have those division coordinators that are there to help you. Okay, they're your primary resource. And your parents should have this information too. So send out this information to your parents so they knew who to contact if they have any questions or issues. Okay, we also have our newly appointed assistant coach administrator, Miss Jen Wagberg. So her information is there too. I'll give a happy clap for Jen joining the team and taking the plunge. She's definitely going to be awesome. She's learning the ropes this season, and when she's ready, maybe she'll take the next step and wear the big hat. But we'll get there when we get there. So thanks for joining the team, Jen. We definitely appreciate you. So a couple of things to be aware of. Team names. I know you don't even have your rosters yet, but when you do, figure out a team name right away. However you decide to do that is up to you. But that's one of the things that might get lost in translation or lost in all the chaos. So remember, figure out your team name. And this is so we can pass the information along to the picture company. So any applicable items that require a team name, you have it. Talked about rosters already a little bit. And team banners, especially for the younger divisions. Team banners are super popular. The kids love them. There's really cool banners every single season. People get super creative. It's awesome. If you are planning on having a team banner, just keep in mind you really want it for picture day because it can be in your picture with your team, which is on August 26th. Also keep in mind, banners are completely optional. There's no requirement for you to have a team banner, for you to make a team banner or anything like that. They're completely optional, but they are super fun. They're super cool. So I would encourage you to get one made, but you definitely don't have to. If you are going to have one, you want it for picture day. Keep that in mind. All right, trucking right along to our programs and divisions. So Epic and Schoolyard. Jaime, you want to take this?
Yeah, let's do it. If you guys can, one of you guys can do me a favor. I know there are a few questions in the chat. I was about to start answering them, but no big deal. Cool. So let's talk about the Epic program and the Schoolyard programs. Feel free to go to the next slide, Josh. So real quick, everybody, the Epic program, we are so proud of this program. For those of you who might have been aware of it before, it used to be called the VIP program, the very important player program, but it was recently changed to the Epic program. And what that means is everyone plays in our community. It is designed for players with special needs, right? And it's a program where we bring, all of these players. And by the way, they don't have to be kids. They don't have to be, it could be anyone from the age of, let's say, 5 or 6 up until 20s, 30s, whatever the case. We bring them all together. It's a program that's run by our coordinator. Her name is Shauna Glicker, and she does an incredible job. She works along with Christy Nielsen, who is our assistant RC, and they run an exceptional program. They have the players out there playing games and learning the game of soccer. In the last couple of seasons, they've invited other teams, let's say like a 14U team or a 16U team, to come out to play with the kids, and they have a blast learning the game of soccer. So for all of you out there, if you know anybody that has anyone that's maybe disabled or has some mental disabilities, feel free to let them know about the program. It's an awesome, awesome program. And real quick, as far as the bullet points, for this season, the sessions are going to occur on Fridays. It's going to start September 8th. It's going to end November 3rd. There's going to be about 9 sessions total. The time on that, the actual session time, it's going to start at 4:30 and end at 4:15, or I'm sorry, end at 5:15, 45-minute sessions. As a heads up, because sometimes we get this question, there are no practices. It's just session-based, right? And Schoolyard is session-based as well, and I'll talk about that in a second. It's going to be a size 5 soccer ball, and just a heads up for anybody out there who might have a player in the program, it's going to be played at a park called Vintage Reserve, which is a park that's close to Buchanan Elementary. It's really, really close to the fields. And of course, our coordinator, Shauna, will provide anybody out there that information. So be on the lookout for that. So awesome program. We're super excited to have it back. And we look forward to, making sure that these players have a great time. Feel free to move on, Josh. So Schoolyard. So this is our little ones, right? This is basically the equivalent of a 5U division for the most part. It focuses, it's on in bold print, but it focuses on group session play, right? This is where the kids, for the first time, really will get a chance to start learning the game of soccer at its basic core smaller levels, right? So you can kind of see it in the documentation, but at the very beginning, they're going to learn to hop, to skip, to jump, to run, to throw, balance, all of these cool little activities, which is going to be a blast for a lot of these kids to play. What's incredible, and I know it's going to be in the next slide, but I'll talk about it anyway. We also have a group by the name of UK International, and they are a fantastic group that we have been working with for the past few years. We have a coach by the name of Carl Wilson, and he does an amazing job with these kids. And they have an incredible time during these sessions, just having a blast and just playing games. And it's not as structured as like learning the game of soccer, right? Because there's so little, but for the most part, it's just learning the real basic fundamentals, and they have a really, really, really good time. Just as a heads up to anyone out there, as far as any of the coaches are concerned. So what's going to end up happening, and you guys should be aware, is the UKI coach will act like the master coach, right? So he'll pretty much work with you if you're a Schoolyard coach, and give you a heads up as far as, here's the plan, here's what we're planning on doing, and it's probably going to be the day of, right? And then he's going to give you guys instructions, and then from there, you're going to take the kids and kind of go ahead and move forward with the instructions he provided. So that way you have one master coach directing traffic, and you as the head coach are basically following what the UKI coach wants to do that day. So should be a lot of fun. Real quick on the bullet points. Oh, actually, and if anything, our coordinator is Wendy Boylan. She's incredible. She's awesome. As far as, if you need anything, she will absolutely get in contact with you. Her information is right there, so please feel free to do so. As a heads up, I'll go through the bullet points now. The sessions occur on Saturdays. It's going to start on Saturday, September 9th, and it ends November 4th. 9 sessions total. It's going to be every Saturday, similar to the Epic program. Like I said a second ago, there are no practices. It's just a session every Saturday, right, during that time frame. And it's super important that the kids bring a size 3 soccer ball and shin guards. Shin guards are incredibly important, so please be sure to make that happen. But yeah, again, super excited. And yeah, I just talked about that UK International. They will absolutely be involved, and we look forward to having them once again. So it's going to be a great time. I think that's it for me, Josh.
Awesome. That's it. Yeah, great job, Jaime. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so now I get to bore everyone with my voice some more. All right, so let's talk about the other divisions here at 1463. So 6U is our youngest division besides Schoolyard, and so this is where it's designed for developmental stages. So really, it's We encourage them to explore, experiment, and participate with and without the ball. They're really just there, just having fun. It's so awesome watching these youngsters run around because they just have smiles on their faces and they're just really loving what they do out there with a soccer ball. So time for exploration. We're going to let them play, building slightly on the fundamentals of the game of soccer, like we talked about in the schoolyard. So for 6U, they can have one practice per week up to 45 minutes. And their games will be 30-minute games, so which consists of two 15-minute halves. Okay, for 6U games, they're going to be 5v5, no goalkeepers. And the coaches will be supervising and basically acting as referees throughout the match. No official referees for 6U. Our 6U division coordinator is Alex Goodwin. He's also one of our coach instructors. Alex Goodwin is an amazing volunteer who's been with us for a long time. So write his information down. I'm sure he'll be contacting you, all of you 6U coaches, and answering any questions you may have. Real quick on the bullet points. So your 6U games are going to be on Saturday. Practices once a week, like we talked about. Total of 9 games, starting September 9th. Ending November 4th, and all 6U players should have a size 3 soccer ball and of course shin guards. So building on that, now we jump up to the 8U division. So with 8U, we're really going to start focusing on quality training and establishing good habits and start adopting some foundations for development. At the same time, we really have to prioritize the age appropriate application. They are still kids. These are 6 and 7-year-olds. So you coaches keep that in mind. It still has to be fun. They have to be vibrant and really excited to do what they do. So make sure we're coaching them that way. When you go up to 8U, you get more practice time. So you can have 1 hour practices twice a week. So 2 hours a week. And the games are a little bit longer. They're 40-minute matches, which consist of 2 20-minute halves. In 8U, we do 6v6. Still no goalkeeper. And there's no offside in 8U. Once we get to the 8U division, you do have to have a certified referee in the center. Youth referees, a lot of them choose 8U. It's a great place for them to learn. The youth referees may choose to center 8U matches, and we will have referee mentors out there guiding them. So all the information for all of our divisions are on our website. And as you can see here, we definitely need an 8U coordinator. So I know I probably have 30 emails already of all of you asking, can I be the 8U coordinator, please? I'll respond to you in the order they were received. So my poor attempt at humor. We'll go ahead and go through the bullet points. The same thing, games are on Saturdays, start September 9th and November 4th with a little asterisk there. Size 3 soccer ball, 9 games total with the possibility of a 10th week. And that asterisk is what Carlos talked about. If you qualify via your volunteer points for the Gem of the Valley Cup, that would be your 10th week in 8U. All right, and a new thing we're doing this season with 8U is we are implementing a build out line. What this does is it promotes the ball playing out of the back of the field instead of just booting it to one end or the other. Like, it really promotes more structured gameplay, and it adds additional space and time to build an attack when play is resumed off of a goal kick or something like that. The location of the build out lines are halfway between the halfway line and the goal area on each half. And so during a goal kick, opponents must retreat behind the build out line. And of course, the referees will help with this. Soon as the ball is kicked and clearly moved, then opponents can cross the build out line and continue play. All of you coaches, there's a great link here that you'll have access to. I'm sure Carlos will send it out as well. That explains the build out line and how it works. It's a very easy to understand video. Definitely encourage all of you to watch it. And almost more importantly, send it to your parents and have them watch it. so they understand the build out line as well. That's very, very important. All right, trucking right along now to 10U. Same thing, 2 times a week, 60 minutes per practice. Games are a little bit longer now. They're 50 minutes, consisting of 2 25-minute halves. 8 to 9 years old, which is our 10U division, really is the golden age for learning. And it's the perfect age to increase focus on specific techniques and skills. So 10U is kind of where you really start seeing the soccer players develop like into soccer players. They're still having fun. They're still having a blast, but you're going to start seeing a little more skill, a little more structured gameplay. And look, it's a time for adventure. So they're still having fun while doing it. 10U is 7v7, and this is the first division where goalkeepers are now in play. Now also the offside rule is in effect, and 10U also does have the build out line, just like 8U does now this season. For 10U, a full referee crew will officiate, so it'll be a 3-person crew, right? And hey, 10U division coordinator, I'm getting more emails as I speak. I know I am. That position is open. So please, if you guys are willing to take that on, reach out to myself, to Carlos, and we'll get you up to speed and we'll get you there. So for 10U, same thing. Games on Saturdays. They start September 9th and November 4th. And in 10U, now you're moving up to a size 4 soccer ball. So keep that in mind, coaches. 10U is now a size 4 soccer ball, not a size 3. 9 games total. Same thing with the 10-week possibility and a chance for area playoffs coming in December. So speaking of which, 10U does also have the same build out line, just like 8U. There's a video link, a video explanation. And there's another link that actually explains the offside law, I should say. So there's another link here. So watch that, familiarize yourself with it. And 10U parents, the biggest complaints we get from the parents on the sideline is offside, offside, offside. And 99% of the time it's because they don't understand the offside law or the build out line. So that's why I tell you, send these videos to your parents, have them watch it. That'll help eliminate or alleviate some of those sideline issues. All right, 12U. Hour-long practices twice a week, a little bit longer games now. So there's 60-minute games, 2 30-minute halves. 12U is now 9v9. Here's some big ticket items for 12U. So all positions should be taught and encouraged. What I mean by that is, as players, look, every player wants to score and wants to be a striker up front, right? But all players should be taught all positions at 12U. And so they should be encouraged to do so. So even if you're the best striker in the league, you still need to be taught how to play defense, midfield, and the other positions. As far as 12U goalkeepers, they cannot play more than 3 quarters in the goal. If in the instance your goalkeeper does play any 3 quarters in the goal, they must play one of the quarters on the field. So they would be playing all 4 quarters. At least one of them has to be on the field. Keep in mind, you'll probably never run into that situation due to the fact that your roster size, your roster size. So no player could sit twice before every player has sat once. So keeping that in mind, you almost never will have any player that can play all 4 quarters unless you happen to have a few kids that just don't show up and you don't have any subs. Then you might be in that situation. But keep that in mind. Can't play more than 3 quarters in the goal. No headers for 12U and below. If the header is intentional, an indirect free kick should be awarded by the referee. Okay, so headers are not allowed. It's a safety issue. So don't coach your kids how to head the ball. They're not quite ready yet. The bullet points. So games are on Saturdays, start September 9th and November 4th. Practices twice a week, 60 minutes each. 12U is also a size 4 soccer ball, just like 10U. All games will be in Marietta. 9 games total, 10th week possible, with a chance to go into area playoffs. All right, and piggybacking on that, so moving up to 14U. So now practices get longer. So you got an hour and a half practices twice a week, and obviously longer games. 70 minutes consisting of two 35-minute halves. Big ticket items for 14U. This is where positions should be taught and enforced. So 14U is kind of the age where you start, defenders can be defenders, attackers can be attackers, and so on and so on. There are no playing restrictions for goalkeepers. Once again, as long as the substitution rule is being followed. And then headers are now allowed in 14U, with the exception, occasionally we have some very skilled 12U aged players that will play up into a higher division. If you do have that situation, that 12U aged player is still not allowed to head the ball. Okay. Substitutions during quarter break, halftime, or injury. So for 14U, some of your games may be on weekdays and Saturdays, possibly even Sundays too. Start date of September 9th, end date of November 11th. Practicing twice a week, we talked about. And in 14U, you move up to a full size 5 soccer ball. So keep that in mind. 14U and up is a full size 5 soccer ball. 14U games are going to be Marietta, French Valley, surrounding areas. Total of 10 games and a chance to go to area playoffs. 16U, just building up little, pretty much the same as 14U. Games get a little bit longer, so now they're 80-minute games with two 40-minute halves. And in 16U, you now get free substitutions. So 16U start the week of 8/21, which holy crap is next week, with an end date of October 28th. The games will occur weekdays and Saturdays, possibly Sundays as well. Same practice limitations, hour and a half, twice a week. Size 5 soccer ball, 9 or 10 games total. And 16U will play area 1R and 1N teams. And every 16U team have a chance to enter area playoffs, which will be occurring in early November. 19U. All right, these are the big kids. So they're playing full length matches just like the pros, 90-minute games, 11v11, same thing. Keepers can play all 4 quarters, and free substitutions are allowed in 19U. So 19U is going to start next week as well. End date of October 28th. Same thing, 9 to 10 games, area 1R and 1N teams, and a chance for area playoffs happening in November. All right, so that's our divisions. So UKI does a lot for us on top of helping out with schoolyard. They also are here for you as coaches. So they're going to be providing clinics throughout the season. Clinics will probably have topics. It's like goalkeeping, striking, finishing, defense, stuff like that. Those are the clinics that are going to be provided, but they're also going to be sign-up sheets for you to actually have the UKI coach come to you, and they can either help you run your practice session, or they can actually run your practice for you based on the topic that you want them to work on, and you can learn from them. So they're there to help your team better, and really what they're there is to help you as a coach, to give you different verbiage, different outlook, different ideas for running your practice session. This is a great resource, and we've got nothing but great feedback from the coaches who have used them, especially newer coaches, maybe aren't super experienced. You have to utilize this tool, this UKI program. It will help you. So keep that in mind. A sign-up sheet will be sent out so you can sign your teams up for these seminars.
By the way, real quick, Josh. So I know these seminars are basically they're starting next week. So I figure you're going to send out that spreadsheet. I was writing in a chat, but you're going to send out that sign-up sheet like any day now, right?
Yes.
For all the coaches. Okay.
Yes, we have to figure out where they're going to hold the sessions, and then yes, once that's figured out, we'll send the sign-up sheet out.
Perfect.
So keep an eye out for those emails, coaches. It will be coming soon. So the plan is now use the coach trainings on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, which is what I just described, where basically the UKI coach will kind of help you with your practice. And the player skills clinics will be happening on Thursdays, which is the themed clinics. Like I said, maybe goalkeeping, maybe defense, whatever that is. So that information will be coming soon. And there's my information. Don't forget your division coordinators. The few that we do have are available to help. And we need more. We need more division coordinators so you can help us out as well. This is how you get our information and contact me or any one of us. All right, and I think that's it for me for a while. Back to Carlos, our competitive play coordinator, Mr. Carlos Torres.
Hey guys, so I'm also the competitive play uh, coordinator for our region. So go ahead and press the slide. So we actually have two competitive divisions in our region. We have the first one is the extra program, which we're currently in. The extra program, think of it like a club-like experience, but at an AYSO price, right? That's kind of the way I always say it. I always try to sell it, so whatever. So this program is designed for the player or your player that is super into soccer. They live and breathe soccer. They love soccer. I mean, it's absolutely something they have true passion for. So we have several players in our region that take soccer that seriously, which is why we offer the extra program. Now, the extra program is very demanding. Again, it is like club level soccer. You do practice more, 2 to 3 times a week, depending on your division. And then it is a 10 to 11 month commitment. Again, like club like soccer. But once again, I will repeat at an AYSO price. The advantage of being in our program too is that everyone in our program is a volunteer, including the extra coach. And obviously, they're coaching because they love to coach kids. Now, we only approve, not any coach can coach the extra program. It has to be someone that's been within our region for a while and someone that has a true passion for coaching and teaching and motivating kids, right? So we take a lot of pride in approving the right person for the right team for the right division. So rest assured that if your child is in an extra team, your child will have a tremendous experience, an awesome experience. So again, it is very difficult, very hard. You can't just be selected. It actually has to be a tryout. So your child would have to come to a tryout, or any kids can come and try out, and they would be selected not even by the coach. Region, I'm sorry, in the extra program in AYSO soccer. It's actually the players are selected after they come to a tryout or tryouts, and they're selected by a panel of evaluators. So the coach has no input of the players that will be on the team. They will pick the best players that came to try out, and they will form a team that way. So, and the advantage of extra too is anyone can come try out. It can be anyone from another league or another region. Yeah, yeah, they just have to come to the tryout. Go ahead.
And then real quick, Carlos, as far as coaches are concerned, if they're interested in becoming a coach in the extra program.
Yes, so if you're interested in doing that, obviously reach out to me. Again, there will be an interview process. I'm sorry, a questionnaire process. You'll have to fill out an application, and then we will meet as a committee, and obviously we'll come watch your games. We'll come watch your practices. We'll come see how you do. We'll look at your overall performance as a coach, meaning not necessarily the win-loss record, but mainly your positive attitude, your way of our AYSO core philosophies, and making sure we're sticking with that. Because again, we want to make sure we pick the right person to be our competitive play, and in this instance, the extra program, which is our highest level in our region, coach, right? So we want it to be the right person, right? We don't want someone out there that's so super competitive, they're screaming and yelling at the kids and being very negative towards them. That's not something we encourage at all. We want positive reinforcement, but at a competitive level, right? So it still has to be someone who's soccer knowledge, has a lot of soccer knowledge, but at the same time does it in a positive way. Then the secondary program we do have, this is only a spring. Remember, extra is in the fall, which is currently right now. It goes from fall to spring for the extra team. We had tryouts a couple months ago, and we actually have 3 teams now for the extra program. And again, that last 10 to 11 months goes from now, August, through the end, probably about June. So from now until June. Now, there's another program we have that only happens in the spring. It's called Spring Select. The Spring Select program, you got to think of that as a all-star team is kind of the way I describe it. So the one thing that has to be for the select team is that your player had to have played in the fall season to be considered to be allowed to play on a select team, right? So first of all, in order to have a select team, a coach would again have to apply. They'd have to be approved by the board, and then they would be allowed to be a spring select coach for whatever division they were approved. And then that coach would then be able just to select whatever players they wanted as long as they were in the fall season, right? They had to have played in the fall season. They can go around and select players, scout players in our region, and put them and form a team. So for example, if I wanted to form a select 10U team and I was approved, I would then scout players in the 10U division in our region and then talk to the coaches to make sure it's okay to talk to their players and the parents, or the parents of the players, and then ask them if they want to come be on the spring select team. So again, super cool, super exciting. That one is only in the spring. It is only for the spring season. So spring starts generally in February, March, and then it would end in the end of May, beginning of June, right? But again, think of it like an all-star level team. You would be facing other teams that also are choosing their own players or select players in other regions. And it is kind of like a travel team. I did forget to mention also, Extra also is a travel team. Not too far, not too crazy. Both select and extra isn't too far, but sometimes it can. Sometimes we've gone as far as Beaumont, Redlands. One time I think we went to, I want to say it was, I think Jason went to Arcadia. He went to the LA area. So sometimes it can be far, but generally it's what about an hour, hour and a half at most for travel. But it's a lot of fun, right? So if your kids take it very, very serious, Spring Select would be the next program that's coming up for your kids to be able to try to be on that team. Again, they'd have to be selected by the coach, and then after that would be the extra level that starts in the fall. I think that was it. Oh, select and extra. I did forget to mention the extra program starts at 10U. Same with the select level. That also starts at 10U. So there is no extra or select for 8U or below. It starts at 10U and can go up to 16U. Actually, Jaime, is there a 19U select team? I forgot about that. I'm not sure if that's true or not.
That's a good question. I know for a fact there's a 16U, but I am not 100% on 19U. I think so, but it always depends on, they just need to make sure they have the number of teams. Yeah.
Yeah, so those two programs, again, they're designed for a player or players that really, really, truly love soccer, who would think about going to club, right? Because core level is to have fun and to socialize, right? And to learn soccer. If you want to take it to the next level, you would go to select. The level above that would now be extra, right? And again, select and extra are super, super competitive. And it has to be not only commitment from the player, right? Because sometimes the players are very committed to playing, but the parents are not, right? So as a parent, if you're not willing to travel or to commit to as many practices as you have to, it's not going to work, right? So you got to make sure it is, you know, more competitive programs at a very reasonable rate, right? Because we want to provide a reasonable rate for families. But you also got to remember there are volunteer coaches that are doing it, spending the time to do that. So don't disappoint them by not bringing your kids to practice, right? Then that makes it a disappointing season and stuff. So I always tell, because I coach extra and select, I always tell the parents, man, you just bring them to practice. I will develop your player. I
All
think that's
right.
it. If anybody
All
has any
set.
questions about it, reach out to me. Of course, we have all this season to talk about that. So feel free to talk to me about that and see how you can either apply to be a coach and or how your player can be selected. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you very much. Yeah, Select and Extra are definitely awesome programs. Carlos, you're doing a great job with that. All right, so chugging right along. We're getting to the end. I promise. I promise, coaches, we're getting there. Real quick. So, AYSO does provide uniforms, which includes jersey, short, and socks for each player. And players are required to wear shin guards underneath their socks for all practices in games. And soccer cleats are not necessarily required, but are definitely highly recommended. So here's a quick recap of the age division and the size soccer ball they should have. 8U and below is size 3 ball, 10U and 12U size 4 ball, and 14U and above is size 5 ball. Coaches, I can't stress it enough. Please make sure you over stress it to your parents and your players to bring a lot of water. We know we live where we live, it's very hot. Every day, every season, every practice, there's players that come up, they either don't bring water, they forget, or they bring like one little tiny bottle and then they run out in the first 10 minutes of practice. Like stress it, over stress it, bring lots of water. Okay. Some things that are definitely not allowed. No jewelry, which includes earrings, watches, and necklaces, and there is no exceptions to that. Make sure your parents know. Even if somebody just got their ears pierced last week and they quote unquote can't take their earrings out, Well, first, yes, they can. Their ears aren't going to close up in an hour. And second, if they refuse to take the earrings out, they will not be allowed to play. It's a safety concern. The referees won't let that player play with earrings in, even if they're covered up by band-aids. There's just no exception. Okay. Medical alert bracelets are the only exception. No sunglasses allowed unless they're prescription. No casts or splints, even if they're padded and even if the player has been cleared by a doctor. Some soft braces are okay. It would be a case-by-case basis with the approval of the referee, and there can be no metal inserts. No hats with hard bills, which means baseball caps, anything that can endanger another player. Knit caps are okay for younger players on cold days, like beanies. Generally, the older players won't need that stuff. They can power through it. And make sure your parents know no noisemakers. So those ringing cowbells or the little clickety clack machine that you spin around, whatever that thing's called, no noisemakers will be allowed on the sideline. Tell your parents to save their money. Don't bring them. As far as equipment distribution for new coaches, this is what myself and Jen, the assistant coach admin, will hand out to you. We'll give you a nice little starter kit, 2 soccer balls, a pump, a little mesh ball bag, and a set of like 10 or 12 cones and 10 or 12 disc markers. And if you are a returning coach and you do need some more equipment, I know sometimes you get lost, the codes get broken, whatever, just reach out to myself or Jen, and we'll take care of you however we can on a case-by-case basis. For Epic and schoolyard programs, all the equipment is provided at the field. So coaches, you don't need to worry about equipment, just worry about each player having their own ball. Dates to pass out equipment to new coaches. Yep, Jen and I need to get together and figure that out. So keep your eye on the email for that too. We're gonna put our heads together very soon to let you know when to come get your equipment for coaches that need it. All right, so additional information. So all of our games for AYSO, not all of our games, but the games that are at our home field at Torrey Pines Park, that's the address, and the entrance is through Torrey Pines Road. As far as holding practices, we have several fields available. Obviously, we have our home fields. We just recently acquired fields at Dorothy McElhenney. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right. We have fields reserved at Chavella, Vintage Reserve Park, and there's a whole list of other smaller parks that are approved on our website. Okay, so make sure you guys look that up. You don't always have to come to our home field. There's plenty of other options, coaches, that may be close to your house, may be more convenient. So keep that in mind, but you do have to practice at approved locations, which those are listed on our website. You can't just go to the park next door to your house if it's not approved. So as far as game day, home and away side, the side of the field that's closest to the parking lot is the away side. The side that's furthest away from the parking lot is the home side. So the little graphic right there kind of explains that for you. For the upper divisions, all 14U, 16U, 19U, and the extra teams, spectators must sit on the sideline to the left of the assistant referee. And please do not sit behind the goals. That's not allowed. Practice field reservations. I'm sure you guys are all chomping a bit to learn how to reserve your practice days and times and the field location you want to use. The email will be sent out after this meeting. I think we said what, around 8:30, 8:45, Carlos? Yeah, 8:30, 8:45. The email's coming out tonight, and what it's going to be is it's going to be a fill out like a little Google form with your preferences, first, second, and third preferences. And then once you submit it, it's going to be logged and there will be a timestamp on it. And the practice field reservations will be granted in a first come, first serve basis. So make sure you coaches, you keep your eye out for that email and submit it right away to give you the best chance of getting the days and times and field locations that you want.
Josh, if I can interrupt you just for a second, I'm sorry to
For
interrupt you.
sure. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, actually, let's change that to 9 o'clock because I do need to make a few changes in the form, just to make sure we have the right field allocations on there. And then also, coaches, on there also, I'm going to ask if you can provide your shirt size for your coach's shirt, and then also send me take a selfie picture of yourself, kind of like an ID picture. And if you could email it to me, I would appreciate it. It'd be great. Okay, so take a picture of yourself. I know it's hard to do that sometimes, but take a picture of yourself and then just email it to me, right? It'll say that on the Google form as well. Yeah. Okay. And it'll be at 9 o'clock. So set an alarm clock or a clock 9 p.m. because or 8:58 or 8:59. Get ready because it's going to be first come, first serve. So whoever asks for that field at that time, at those days, it'll go to that person first.
Now, Carlos, quick question for the coach pictures. Do you need assistant coach pictures as well, or just head coaches?
Actually, Josh, that's a very good question. Yes, I need one for the head coaches and the assistant coaches, right? So please, assistant coach, please send me your picture as well. It's always been our goal to have a coach certification badge, right? That means you're completely cleared. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do it for this season, but I definitely needed to have it to match to your name and to match to your team. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, Carlos. So keep in mind, even if you are first to put your request in, there are several coaches that are coaching multiple teams. Their requests, because they're taking on multiple teams, will be bumped to the front of the line. Coaches with multiple teams will take priority. So just keep that in mind. And really, really important here, coaches, you have to be flexible with me. We have very limited field space. There's a ton. I think we have over 60 teams this season that we have to fit in a finite amount of space in a finite amount of time. Um, Inevitably, there are going to be practice conflicts as far as what you want, what another coach may want, and stuff like that. I'm going to be reaching out to you in that instance to try and resolve it the best way we can. Just please be flexible. Everyone's going to have to make some adjustments to make it work for everyone. Maybe shifting your practice time a half hour one way or the other. Maybe practicing one location at our home field, Torrey Pines, and maybe your second practice can be in a different location. All of those things are options. So I'll do everything I can, but there's inevitably going to be conflicts. Please, coaches, be flexible and don't shoot the messenger when I call you. Say we have to make some adjustments. Okay. Remember that other fields are available, so let's really try to utilize Chevella, Vintage Reserve, and the Dorothy McElhenney. Those are fields that we've recently acquired to give us extra field space. Let's use those fields. Let's fill them up, and that'll free up a lot of opportunity for practice times at our home fields. Also,
And
keep in
Josh,
mind.
sorry,
Oh yeah,
sorry to
go
interrupt
ahead.
you one more time. I was going to give a big shout out to Dorothy. It was a great thing that Jaime and Christy and Omar were able to get this field. It's a beautiful field, plenty of space. So I would encourage a lot of you guys, instead of using Warm Springs, try Dorothy. Dorothy is a really nice field.
Perfect. Thanks, Carlos. More information will be sent out about that too. We'll send out some field maps so you guys know what you're looking at for each location. Keep in mind, you cannot practice without your coach binder. Coach binder is something that will be handed out at the coach meet and greet this Saturday. It has all your players' names and waiver forms and stuff like that. That needs to be on your person at all times for all team events. That's called your coach binder. For any of you that may be new coaches or even experienced coaches, look, we have done a lot of the work for you. If you're not sure what to work on or what drills to do or how to do a defensive drill or anything like that, go to our coach portal. There's tons and tons of training plans that are there. There's images, there's graphics, there's explanations, and they're separated by division. So you can go in there, let's say, I don't know, the 10U division, click on defense, and there'll just be a slew of defensive drills and activities that you can do. So if you're ever like, oh, I don't know what to do, just click on the coach portal. You'll find something you like. And like I said, it's there. This is a great resource for figuring out how to work with your team, keeping these interesting, different activities to do during your practices. Game cards. Carlos, you should take this one. Game cards for 8U and above.
Okay, so game cards, super important for games that have referees. That's 8U and above. To make sure you fill out the game cards correctly. As you can see, the front There is a video I'm going to email every one of you guys. It's also on our website. Not an email, I'm sorry, a video, a YouTube video on how to actually do this. Again, that also reminds me too, everything that you're seeing here, everything we ever talk about, everything we ever communicate to you via text, email, whatever, just our website has everything. Everything we do is on our website. Every new notification is on our website. If you're not a Facebook follower of our region, please become one. If you don't have Facebook, we also do it on Instagram. Sometimes you will know before I know when things get updated, right? So that's how quick Jaime is at taking care of those things and stuff, whatever. So please do that. But anyways, so the game card, you guys make sure you fill out. So the coaches only have to fill out, and this is very, very important, only fill out the highlighted blue section. So if you can see on there, so I know it's a little hard to read, but only fill out what's in highlighted blue, which means now if you look on there, you would only fill out your team name, your team colors, the head coach's name, the assistant coach's name, what team number you are. Team number is very important, the division you're in, and then you line up your players in uniform order, meaning you start with whatever number your first number is. Typically, it's a number 2, and then you go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and so on in order, and then you put their names in. Okay. I will actually fill out the ref cards for you before the season starts. Jaime always thinks I'm crazy when I do this, but trust me, I will do it for you. You give me your roster, right? Because I don't know your roster. You tell me your roster, and I'll email you to ask you for your roster. Okay, I'll provide the link for you to fill out everything, but I will do it for you so that on game one, day one of your season, when you play your first game, I'll have a manila envelope filled with all your ref cards for the entire season. Or you can fill it out manually yourself. Okay. I will type it in for you. I'll print them out for you and hand them to you. And the only thing you'll have to do is fill out the day and time at the bottom. That's the only thing you'd have to do on game time. But anyway, so if you fill it out on your own, only the highlighted blue section, the referees will fill out everything else. Do not put the substitutions in. Do not put who goalkeepers are. Do not put who captains are. That is the responsibility of the referee to ensure that everybody plays at least 75% of the game. So that's why we ask the referees to do that and not you. And then on the back of it is the sportsmanship point. So to the right of it, you'll see on there, and again, I know it's kind of hard to read, but it says sportsmanship points on there, and you're rated from 1 to 5 on the categories of the spectators, the parents, the players, the 5-goal rule, meaning we don't want to embarrass another team, score more than 5 goals on a team, and then the courtesy towards the referees from the fans, the coaches, and the players. You're not allowed to miss very many sportsmanship points. I think you can only miss a total of 4 points for the entire season. So if you go from a 5, which is the best, to a 1, you've already lost 4 points, and you're in danger of not being able to participate in the playoffs. So always control your sidelines and always control yourself. Again, referees are not perfect. I always tell coaches, look, that referee did not wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to screw that team. That is not what they said, okay? They made a mistake, they didn't see it, or maybe you're wrong and you didn't see it, right? But so just if you get upset, turn around, let it go. That's what you got to do. So, and
Perfect.
I think that's it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's all set. Perfect. Thanks, Carlos. So real quick, we've gone over a lot of this, just kind of recapping, okay? Having a parent meeting is critical. Most coaches do it at the end of their first practice. They'll set aside 15 or 20 minutes to have a meeting with all the parents and lay out all those expectations that we talked about earlier in this meeting. Quick reminder, team banners, picture date is August 27th, and remember, banners are optional. Have your game card ready before game day, which Carlos just talked about. He'll even do it for you. So make sure it's ready. You're not trying to fill it out as your game's supposed to be starting. On that same note, have your game plan ready before game day, which means positions and substitutions. So who's playing where for all 4 quarters, first, second, third, who's sitting out. Have that ready beforehand. Please don't be the coach that's showing up and doing that on the fly. It's very not ineffective. It's very time wasting. If there's a better word for it, but it wastes a lot of time, and you're taking away playing time from the kids basically because you're not prepared. Always support the kids zone, like we talked about earlier. We just talked about reserving practice space and times via the email that's coming at 9 p.m. tonight. And remember, other authorized fields that you can use for practices are listed on our website in the coach portal. Do you want to take this one, Jaime?
Yeah, let's do it. All right. So
Perfect.
real
Let's
quick,
do it.
Let's do it. So for any returning coaches out there, so we used to have what was called the Commissioner's Cup. You guys all know that, and that basically it's this big grand end of season event. We like to, make it as special as we possibly can. We have vendors out there. We have special pins made. We have special referee badges. We try to treat it like a really big end of season event, usually for like the 8U divisions and up, sometimes up to the 14s, but this season for 12U. So one of the things, just as a heads up to you guys, one of the things I was telling our board is that while it was great that it was called the Commissioner's Cup, the reality is it really wasn't about me, right? It was way more important that it was about Marietta. It was about our region, right? So that's where I kind of gave our board members like a challenge to basically come up with a new name for this thing. And Gem of the Valley is basically the slogan of Marietta itself, so we loved it. So that's what we're going with. We're going to call it the Gem of the Valley Cup. Again, it's going to be a special event at the end of the season, a tournament event. Carlos kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. 8U is going to be more like that event that Carlos mentioned. So those teams, like first place team will play second. Like Carlos was saying, they're going to have one game during that cup, and whoever ends up winning gets a special surprise from Carl's Jr., which is awesome. I think Carlos did kind of mention this as well, in case some of the 8U coaches out there are kind of curious as to what happened. So, 8U, due to national, AYSO national is not meant to be a competitive program. It's not a competitive division, I mean. So because of that, we're just simply not allowed to do like a tournament style type thing for the 8U division. And we were informed of that. And we're like, okay, of course, we want to make sure to do what AYSO national requires and recommends. So, but we want to still make sure to include the 8U division. So we're going to do that. We're going to make it special for them. And then for 10U and 12U, it is going to be an awesome tournament like we've always done every single season. It's going to take place 11-18 and 11-19. Day one typically features elimination games, and day two will feature the big championship games, right? A lot of fun. You guys are absolutely going to want to make sure as coaches, talk to your parents, do whatever you can to get those volunteer points, because you guys are going to 100% going to want to make sure to be a part of the Gem of the Valley Cup, right? So yeah, eligible teams will compete. And I just mentioned this a second ago, all teams that fulfill our volunteer points requirements will be eligible. So it doesn't matter if your team went 0-10, as long as you got your volunteer points, you will be a part of the party, right? So keep that in mind. Region recognition pins. We have been doing this for a few years now, and I think for the most part, the kids love it, the parents love it, the coaches love it. It's a really fun thing to do. Basically, what we do is every single game, the coaches will reward one player with a special pin at the end of the game. So say, for example, we go through the game's done, the kids line up and they kind of do their handshakes, and then we kind of get them together as referees, we get them together in the middle of the field and we do a quick speech letting them know, hey, congratulations, everybody. And by the way, we should thank our coaches and we should thank all our volunteers because that's incredibly important. And then we kind of ask these coaches, okay, and the teams themselves, who on the other team did a fantastic job being a great representative of AYSO 1463, right? And that team will select someone from the opposite team and give the pin over to them. The kids tend to love it. I know my kid who's now in 19U, he's older now, but I remember when he first received his, it meant so much to him that it came from the other team, right? It was just this cool thing that some coach that he'd never met before and he had never met my son gave that to him. It meant so much more to him, right? So keep that in mind. It's awesome. We have three pins that we're going to be focusing on this year: the Invincible pin, Team Player pin, Hustle pin. We'll make sure to kind of give you guys an update as far as what each one of those mean. But every single week, we're going to alternate between those. As a heads up, 6U division coaches, you guys are a little bit different. You're going to want to go ahead and give those to your own child, right? At that age, they're a little young, so we want to make sure that you give it to them as their coach. And then on top of that, what's most important is in the 6U division, we want to make sure that each one of those players in the 6U division gets at least one. They all of them in that division need to get one. Taking a quick step back, because I get this question all the time, We unfortunately don't do it in schoolyard. So schoolyard coaches, in case you're curious, we did it for like a season or two. And what ended up happening is we would give the pin to the pin winner, and the pin winner will be smiles and laughs and everything. And every single other kid on the team would start immediately bawling and crying. So we immediately realized, okay, that's not the way to go. So keep in mind, schoolyard coaches, we're not going to do pins for schoolyard, not quite yet. 6U division, you're going to want to make sure to coaches, you're going to want to make sure to give it to one child on your team and make sure that by the end of the season, every child gets one, right? For 8U and up, that's where now the coaches and the teams have to be on the lookout on the opposite team and select one. And basically at that point, just keep in mind, coaches, it's earned, right? So if a player happens to win 1, 2, 3 pins during the season, they earned it, right? So they get it, right? One thing I would kind of mention, later on in the season, as a heads up to you guys, you don't have to do this, but I would highly recommend. You might have a player that ends up getting 3, 4 pins, and then the rest of the team is like, hey, what's going on here? I mean, that's great for him or her, but what about the rest of us, right? Later on in the season, if you start seeing that, just a recommendation, I would say go before you actually give the pins out, talk to the other coach and just kind of give that coach a heads up as far as like, well, I have this one child who, if I don't stop this, is probably going to get every single pin every single week. So keep that in mind. Just keep that in your back pocket. I think that's it for this one too.
All right.
No, and that's it. Cool.
That was it. Good job, Jaime. Thank
Thanks.
you. So, upcoming events, and we talked about this. Make sure you contact with your parents. You should have an ASAP as soon as you get your rosters. Practices begin next week on Monday. That week of the 21st is when practices can finally begin. We talked about reserving your practice dates and times. So please don't start practicing until you have a confirmation email from me and you are on the practice schedule. Remember, approved surrounding parks. And as far as uniforms, as soon as uniforms come in, you'll be notified. Coaches, you have to go pick it up at our Christie's house, and then you will be distributing the uniforms to your players.
And by the way, Josh, do you mind? I wrote this note down. Do you mind talking to them about maybe the best practice for giving uniforms out to the players?
Absolutely. And trust me, coaches, this is the best practice. It's the easiest way to do it. If you do it any other way, you're going to give yourself a headache and you're creating unnecessary chaos. So what you're going to get is your package of uniforms is always going to start with number 2, and it's going to go up to whatever number depending on how many players you have. 2 to 13 or 2 to 14 or whatever. Size 2 is the smallest set of uniforms, and the higher number you go is the largest set of uniforms. So what you want to do is take your entire team and you line them up, smallest to largest. Smallest one gets number 2, and so on and so on and so on. And that's how you hand them out. I always tell my players and my parents, if somebody wants a special number or wants this or want that, that's between you and your parents. After that, it's out of my hands. So you line them up, they get what they get. And if they start trading numbers and everything afterwards, that's on them. You do have to know, though, what your player numbers are once it's all said and done. But don't try and say, the smallest kid wants number 12 because now he's getting the biggest uniform. It's just not going to work that way. So.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. It's super important, guys. You do it this way. I know in the past, maybe some of the coaches started handing out uniforms, here and there without doing what Josh had mentioned a second ago. And then at some point, inevitably, we have a player that's tall, really big. And then unfortunately what's left is a super small uniform. And there are a couple of issues there. These uniforms are incredibly expensive. That's number 1. And number 2, even if we were to order them, sometimes they take weeks to get here, right? So all of a sudden we could be in a really tough situation. So the practice that Josh just talked about is absolutely the way you want to go, for sure.
Perfect. Thanks, Hyman. Good point throwing that in there. So moving right along, we said it a few times. Picture day is Saturday, August 26th. Each coach will be given a time slot. That'll be that information will be sent out soon. The kids will be taking individual pictures, and there'll be some picture packages and stuff available for purchase if your parents so desire. The game schedule will be coming out soon. Generally speaking, the game schedule is one of the last things to happen. usually happens a week, maybe even a few days before the first game. Unfortunately, due to us working with other regions and areas around us, game schedule is always one of the last things to come out. So just be patient. As soon as it's finalized, all will get it, I promise. Okay. We talked about Epic. The first session is September 8th, and the core division starts Saturday, September 9th, with 16 and 19U starting next week. Keep in mind, AYSO will be closed for the weekend of Veterans Day. So no Friday or Saturday activities.
Just as a heads up, and this might be on me, Josh. I think that date might be wrong. I think Veterans Day is on the 11th. So yeah, it's on the that's on me. That's on me. Yep.
It is the 11th. I'm surprised I didn't catch that either.
Yeah, because the 18th is actually going to be the Gem of the Valley Cup. So
yep. Okay, so Veterans Day weekend on the 11th, not the 18th. No activities that weekend. Hey, the meet and greet, coaches, make sure you're there. It's this Saturday. These are the time slots for each age division. They're listed right here. This is a great chance for you to meet your players for the first time, meet your parents for the first time. They can come and they'll ask you questions. Probably the biggest question is, Coach, when are practices? Which hopefully you'll know by then. And so get that information out. It's also a great opportunity for them to buy any equipment they need, shin guards, new soccer balls, and everyone will have access to a 20% off coupon for just about anything in the store. And so it's a fantastic event. It's a great time to meet your team and your parents and get some information out there.
If I can add one quick thing, Josh.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, man. So another thing for you guys to be aware of as well. I think there was a question about this on the chat. So, as far as picking up uniforms, like Josh was saying a little bit earlier, I think we're aiming and shooting for Friday at Christy's house, at our assistant regional commissioner's house. On that day, I've also asked her to also provide you guys with your coach shirts, right? Which I think Josh and Jen, you guys are going to be working on as well, I believe. So if you guys get those coach shirts, if all of you can do me a big favor, if you're going to be at the meet and greet on Saturday, which please absolutely try to be there. Please wear those shirts so that way, we're all representing AYSO. You guys are representing with your coach shirts, and obviously the kids can immediately know that you guys are the coach. On the flip side, if for whatever reason you absolutely positively cannot make it on Saturday, please try. But if you can, I would highly suggest let Carlos know, let Josh know, so that way we kind of get a running tally of who can or can't make it. And one of us, myself, Josh, or Carlos, or whoever, will step in and be in your place for you. So just a couple of FYIs.
All right. No, great. I'm glad you stepped in. That was great information. Keep in mind, there's one entrance to Dick's. It's via the Dick's parking lot. If you try and go through the mall entrance, we ran into this issue last season. It's closed until 10 a.m. And so, number one, it's a long way around and through. Just enter via the main front door for Dick's Sporting Goods in the parking lot. Perfect. And more other news and events. And Jaime, this is, I think, where you like to take over, right?
All right, yeah, let's do it. I think we got. We're getting close to time. I think we're doing all right.
Yeah, we're very close to the end.
I'll try to run through these, and then, by the way, I know there were a bunch of questions that some of them got answered and some of them might not have. So we'll try to go through those. So, heads up, everybody. As you guys know, our region is very much a nonprofit one, right? We try to keep our costs as low as possible, and that's why, again, we're a volunteer organization. But we try to keep our costs as low as possible. But even with those costs, some of the returning coaches, you'll know this, and some of the new coaches, you'll see this. We do our best to spend those funds on everything we need, and that includes equipment, or that even includes pins and sweatshirts and shirts and a ton of stuff to make sure that you guys as coaches and the kids out there and the parents have a really good time, right? And all of that costs a tremendous amount of money. That includes even buying field paint, which, by the way, nowadays a box of field paint is $90. It's insanity out there, where a few years ago I would have been really upset paying $35 for a box of field paint. So all of this takes a lot of money, right? And the one thing I would ask for you guys and your parents and everybody else is we will schedule these quick little eat-in fundraisers. If you guys have been with us before, you know exactly what happens. We're going to send an email out and social media post basically saying, Carl's Jr., who's an amazing sponsor, they're going to host something on a particular day. And if you actually go into Carl's Jr. and you purchase some food from them and mention AYSO, we'll get a percentage back, right? Whether it be 10%, 15%, whatever the case may be. So if you guys see those notices, please do your best to join us. And if you can do us a favor and just kind of push the news to your parents as well, that would be highly, highly appreciated. Sponsorships, this is another way for us to kind of, help out the region and get us some serious funding or serious help that we definitely need. We have gotten a fair amount of sponsors already so far. We just ended up getting Century 21. We got Florent Decor. We got a few sponsors, which again, each and every one of them is fantastic. It's awesome. But the more the merrier, right? And a lot of times, if you guys have businesses out there and are interested in learning about sponsorship, please email me, let me know. My information is on the contact sheet. My information is potentially, I think, at the end of this deck as well. I will provide you all the information you need as far as sponsorship is concerned. It's really not a whole lot, and we end up giving you a lot in return as far as like social media posts and put you guys on the website and call you guys out. So if you guys are interested as a business, or if your parents are interested in business to sponsor AYSO 1463, please reach out to me and I will provide you all the info you need. Next up, soccer.com. I'll mention this to the parents as well. We got some gear over at soccer.com that has AYSO logos. It has, you can actually customize some of this stuff, various different colors as far as grays and purples and blues. And they have various little options that you can actually go ahead and custom create your own AYSO 1463 sweatshirts and pants and whatever the case. So I would highly recommend you visit their website. If you go to our website, ayso1463.org, you will see it as one of the links on the bottom right. So I would absolutely try and do that as soon as possible. One of the reasons why I will definitely try that as soon as possible, soccer.com, who's the vendor, does a great job. The quality of the stuff is awesome. However, because they're all custom made, it takes about 2 weeks to get to your place, from the time you order, right? So keep that in mind. Another thing for you guys to be aware of as coaches, and it's not in this deck, but if you go to our website, on the upper right of our website, on the banner where it says, contacts or whatever the case, excuse me, there's a button called store, and that's separate from this. I'm sorry, hold on a second. Okay, sorry, a little dry. There's a button called store, and that's actually through Sports Connect. So they have their own store with AYSO 1463 stuff as well. So if you want to check out both, absolutely feel free to do so. You can do that ASAP. So yeah, if you want to get your gear, please do so. We are also going to have some gear at the fields as well, as as often as we can. But yeah, if you guys want to get some AYSO 1463 gear for you or your kids, those two options at the moment are your best options. So heads up on that. And then Josh did mention this a second ago. Super important. Social media. We post updates on Facebook and Instagram all the time, almost at this point, especially when we start getting into it, maybe close to every day, right? Because especially right now, we got coach courses and referee courses coming up, and orientations, and then we got first day, all this information. We try to make sure we put it on our social media sites. So if you have not followed these sites, absolutely please do so tonight. And I would highly recommend, when you talk to your parents, to recommend them going to these sites as well. It'll be very, very helpful for them. So please follow us on those sites. And here's the contact list that I was referring to earlier. It has all of our executive board. We have a much larger board than this, but these are the executive board members that take care of some of our top tier type items, such as like treasurer, assistant regional commissioner, coach admin like Josh, our volunteer coordinator Carlos, Omar, who is our fields and equipment administrator, our referee admin. More, all the contact info is in here for you. If you need to get a hold of anybody, any one of these people, Leanne, Carl, everybody on this list, Jim, Steve, they're all going to be insanely helpful. So feel free to ping everybody. Of course, try your best to kind of hit these people up on certain disciplines. If there's something, if you want to talk about referee related stuff, obviously try to talk tomorrow and etc. But every single one of these people will help you out. So feel free to reach out to anybody.
Perfect. And look we made it to the end. All right.
Wow.
Thank you, coaches, for sticking with us. Now it's time for us to go through if there are any questions. I'm gonna end the slideshow and stop sharing.
Josh, before you go to the questions, real quick, guys. Hey, so Josh mentioned that about making sure you get your practice field and stuff whatever before you start practicing. One other super important thing is that you have to be cleared by me before you can start practicing. So even if you have your practice field, unless you've completed your coaching certifications, you're not going to be allowed to practice yet. Okay, so it's super important. Get that stuff done. You have until Monday is your official day that you can start practicing. There will be certain things that will be allowed. For example, referee, if you don't have your referee certification yet, that's okay. You'll be allowed to practice, but until you get your referee certification, you will not be able to coach at game time. So you have a little bit of lead time for coaching games, for coaching practices. As long as you get all your safety and coaching certs, you will be allowed to be coaching for practices. But for games, you have to have everything completely done before the start of the season.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Great
Stop
note.
sharing.
Josh,
There
do
we
you
go.
do you want me to kind of read out some of these questions and you can kind of take care of answering for us?
Sure, because I haven't been following the chat box at all. So
I've been trying, but Omar, thank you so much. I know Carlos, Jim, you guys have been doing a fantastic job of just adding answers to a lot of this stuff. So I'll try to hit up the ones that I don't think have been answered quite yet. So Kai asked this question, Josh, will the practice schedules be completely full? And then in other words, would there be an ability to move a practice or two in the season if the head coach has a conflict versus just canceling the practice?
the short answer is yes. Obviously, it's going to be a case by case. But the short answer is yes. Generally, we can figure something out, or we can talk to other coaches, and they'll be flexible to make room for whatever adjustment has to be made. Short answer is yes. It'll be a very rare instance where coaches won't be able to practice due to some sort of schedule.
Got it. Okay. And then
Can,
Courtney,
can I
sure,
interrupt?
sure, sure,
Sorry,
sure,
Jaime, can I
sure.
interrupt you real quick? I'll practice this too. So, hey guys, just make sure, and Josh will make sure when he approves your practice, every field is going to be divided into sections. So you're not going to have an entire field. And in some instances, because we have so many teams, you'll be divided into 3 sections. So a field may have an A section, a B section, and a C section, right? So when you get your approved field, Josh will tell you, hey, you're on field 2, for example, section A or section B or section C. But then on another day that you practice, you could be, field whatever number, section C or section A or whatever. So please pay attention to what section you're assigned because the other coaches will also be told the same thing. We don't want any conflicts uh, during practice times, like, hey, this is my side, or hey, that whatever, right? So thank you, Jaime, for putting that up there, or
No,
Josh
of
Yeah,
telling
course.
you that.
perfect.
Uh,
Yeah, this is an example of this is field one. Over here on the left, it's divided into thirds, A, B, and C. And the same thing with our 12U field, field number 3, it's divided into thirds. The other smaller fields are divided into halves. That's A and B. So this is our home field at Torrey Pines Park. This is an example of what Dorothy McElhenney will look like. Um, there's a divided 3 sections inside the track here, the dirt track, divided into thirds, and then right outside there's another 3 fields divided into thirds. So that's what Carlos is talking about when he's saying your practice fields will be divided into sections.
Yeah, and then don't expect it to be marked. So you guys just have to be courteous to each other, right? So if you have a section, try to estimate how much a third of that section is, or half, depending on what field you're on. Just to be courteous to each other, right? But what we want is to make sure you're not arguing as to what side. Like if you say, "Hey, I'd rather have side C because that's a better side for whatever reason," if you were assigned side A, unfortunately, that's the side you got, right? So it's just the way it goes sometimes. No
Got it.
arguing, please.
Be flexible.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlos. Appreciate it. So the next question from Courtney, do we pick up the pins when we pick up the uniforms? And thank you, Alicia. You're absolutely right. So as a heads up to you coaches, especially the newer coaches, so every single week you're going to go to the board tent and there is going to be a small little container of that week's pins. You're going to go ahead and sign off that you've gotten your pin, and there you go. You'll have your pin. Now keep in mind that's going to be for 6U to 12U. If you're a 14U and up coach, I am going to give your full worth of pins in a bag to Christy. So that way, when Christy gives you guys your uniforms, she should also have a bag of pins ready for you guys. So you guys you'll get that bag of pins, 14U and up coaches, when you pick up your uniforms. So there you go on that. Chris asks, is there a certain place at Dick's Sporting Goods that we're going to be at? Yes. So it's almost always, and it's going to be this time around as well. If you know where the soccer location is, or the part of the store where the soccer equipment is, we're basically going to be right next to it. So if you know where like they sell the soccer shoes, we are going to be right across from the soccer shoes. That's where they typically place us every single season. So that's where we'll be. And we'll have signs, and we'll also have board members who do a fantastic job of directing traffic as far as being right at the front entrances and telling people where to go. So we'll definitely have a lot of people there helping us out. Let's see. So Bobby was asking, sorry, I missed it. Who needs our shirt sizes? So that is going to be Carlos, right? Carlos, you need the shirt sizes. So send that information over to Carlos Torres, and that would be absolutely appreciated. Oh, and thank you, Alex Maldonado, for answering that. That's awesome. Let's see, what's next? I see Omar answered a bunch of questions. Thank you, Omar. When is the next intermediate division coach training?
That is a question that is unknown right now. Unfortunately, I can't just on a whim schedule my own intermediate coach trainings. I have to get approval from area. And so I don't know is the answer to that. But when it does happen, I will send the information out for sure.
So I have something I haven't got a chance to talk to you yet, Josh, because this just came up late last night during the area R meeting. Now keep in mind what I'm about to. So real quick, right now they are looking at an intermediate coach course happening on December 2nd and December 3rd in Riverside. And you're probably thinking, oh, that's really late. Well, they want to make sure that if you're an intermediate coach, or if you are a coach for an intermediate team and you don't have your intermediate and you're going into playoffs, they want to make sure to have that class available right before playoffs, so you can then become an intermediate coach and you're good to go. Now, whether or not there's going to be another intermediate coach course before December 2nd, like Josh is saying, that's TBD. So we'll find out as soon as we can, and we'll let you know. Cool. All right, let me keep going here. What day was the UKI taking place? So for coaches, that's going to be Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And then for the player clinics, that's going to be Thursdays. So that's going to be the players only. But for coaches, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And again, Josh will send out that information as far as the sheet, the sign up sheet very soon. Let's see, Jeremy, I got my live scan completed, but I don't know if it updated on your guys's. And Jeremy, it did. It actually just updated today, so you're good to go. Yeah, you're actually 100% good to go. Gregory, how will referee uniforms be divvied out? And if we have already received a ref uniform in past seasons, is there a way to obtain another set? Actually, I'll leave that one for Steve.
When you say another set, why don't we can reach out and let me know what you need, and we'll figure out what it takes to get you ready to go.
And then as far as divvying them out, Steve, I mean, I think that's a little TBD for now, but we'll probably get back to it.
So for the new referees, what we will do is we'll gather your jersey and short sizes at the training when you sign into the class, and then you just need to notify us when you've signed up for a game. And when you sign up for your first game, we'll have your kit assembled for you with your jersey, your socks, your shorts, your wallet, and your badge and all that. And it'll just be in a bag waiting for you, so you can pick it up the day of your match.
Perfect. Thank you, Steve. Omar or Jim or anybody else, did you notice any other questions that I may have missed at all? Unfortunately, I started chatting, during the meeting, and I don't know if I missed any.
There was
I do.
Oh, go for it, Jim.
There was a question about the link, one of the links on the site about the practice fields. It's not a link to like our actual practice fields. That goes just to the Murrieta Park site, and that link isn't working. So
interesting. Okay,
I tested that, and it didn't work. It did not work for me either.
Yeah. The link that I placed in the chat is working though, and it lists all the different practice fields that are approved for AYSO practices.
Yeah,
yep, perfect.
And on that page too, it lists all the parks that we have and gives the addresses, so you can kind of go off of there to see which one might be closer. But that park system link isn't. We'll have to fix.
Okay. If you can, maybe after this call, Jim, if you can kind of point me in the direction, I'll fix it tonight. It looks like Alex is saying someone wanted to know what the picture was going to be used for. Oh, I think Carlos answered that. Yeah, I think he right.
Yeah. So yeah, don't worry. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna post you anywhere and so whatever.
What's it
It's
going to be
just
for,
designed.
Carlos?
I'm gonna hunt you down. It's just designed for one for us because we have like 64 head coaches and we have like 30 some assistant coaches, right? So I try to remember everybody's name, but it's hard, right? So if I can put a face to the name and then memorize it, it'll just be for us to identify you. The ultimate goal is to eventually have coach certification badges. So that'll signify, I don't know if we can get it done this season because there's so much to do, but the goal is always to get an ID badge done once you're completely certified. So if you're practicing or at a game, we know you're official, right? Because you have your actual certification on you, right? So we'll get there maybe by next season, but for now, it's just to help identify you a little quicker. And then to know, like, if you're practicing, if it's you who's supposed to be there practicing versus just a parent that's not certified, right? So we want to make sure it's the right coach who's certified practicing with the team versus just some random person who's a parent who said they'd cover for you, because that is not allowed. AYSO takes the safety of kids very serious. So that's the reason we're doing that. Okay. And then the other thing too, Josh, sorry, real quick, I'm having a lot of people text me, email me right now. They're freaking out because a lot of coaches have kids and they're trying to coordinate with other coaches so they can coach it, they can practice at the same day at the reasonable around the same time. And we don't have rosters yet, right? So our registrar said that rosters would go out either tonight for some, tomorrow morning for more, and no later than 12 o'clock by tomorrow for everybody, right? So, Josh, what do you think? Should I just change it to tomorrow? I'll send it out for everybody at 5. At least they'll know who, or they'll have some idea, or I'll have some idea who their kids are being coached by, and maybe we can kind of help them a little bit, right, to help on that. I don't know how you feel about it, Josh.
But let's talk offline about that.
Okay. We'll
Yeah,
give you guys,
that one's
coaches,
going
an
to be
update
tough.
whether we're going to send it out by 9 or if we would send it out tomorrow. Okay. The hard part is Josh has to coordinate all the fields. I know. I know it's asking a lot, Josh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Last thing for me, and I know you guys want to get out of here. I don't know if we talked about this, Carlos, but if you wouldn't mind, or actually Josh, if you guys wouldn't mind giving an overview on the whole 5-goal rule.
Oh, perfect.
Might be good for the coaches to be aware of that.
Okay, go ahead,
Josh, you wanna
Carlos.
do it? You wanna do it? Okay.
Go ahead,
So the
Carlos.
5-goal rule, it's designed for the mere purpose of not embarrassing or making a team or players feel bad, right? So imagine yourself, hopefully this doesn't happen because we try to balance teams, right? So imagine yourself playing a game and the other team, for whatever reason, happens to be super dominant, right? And they are 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, right? And they are just jumping up, celebrating, having a great time because they're scoring a ton of goals, right? And that sideline, those parents are happy. But then you turn around and look at your sideline and everybody's depressed. Okay. There was one time before we instituted this rule, there's a team scored, I think it was 14 goals on another team. 14 goals in a soccer game is absurd. Okay,
Yeah, it
that's
was
just
so
ridiculous.
bad they had their goalkeeper dribble the ball down the field and score.
Yeah, that's just bad. So we decided to institute a rule that if you happen to be fortunate enough that you have a dominant team and that great, of course, you guys are all amazing coaches. I'm sure this will happen all the time. That you're so far up in the score that you try to slow it down. And what we mean by slow it down is take your dominant players, right, who are scoring all the time, and put them in the back as defenders, right? Or challenge them to do pass 3, 4 times before anyone else can take a shot on goal. Or tell the kids, hey, you can take a shot on goal, but you can only take it from half the field, right? Have halfway line, the midline, right?
Or
So,
use your left feet.
or yeah, or use your left foot or whatever. Anything to try to slow down the scoring so that the other team does not get demolished, right? So that they still want to come back and play soccer the next week, okay? So that's what the 5-goal rule. So as long as you make an effort and you make a considerate changes to make that happen, then you will not lose sportsmanship points. But if you do not do it, I had a coach one time tell me, no, I'm not doing that. I'm scoring. This is soccer and they got to learn. I'm like, okay, but that's not the AYSO way, man. Because you're supposed to be positive all the time. Let's not. But he didn't do it, so he lost his sportsmanship points. So anyway, so don't be that coach. That's what the 5-goal is. 5-goal rule is slow it down if you happen to be fortunate enough to be up that much.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlos. That's it for me, Josh.
Okay, so I think we've gone through all the questions in the chat. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to verbally shout out. If so, just use a little like raise your hand button and we'll let you unmute and you can get your questions out. Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Kai. We appreciate that. Okay, questions going once, going twice. And
You got two questions, Genesis and
oh,
Bobby.
actually, oh yeah, we got a few of them now. Okay, we'll start with Genesis. Just ask you to unmute. There you go. Go ahead, Genesis.
My question was, I believe if I remembered correctly, you said on Friday we were gonna get our coach shirts. Is that correct?
That's looking like it's going to be, yeah, we're going to try and make it coach shirts. You're going to get, and the uniforms. Yes.
And how do I know when, where to go for that?
We'll make sure to send you the information as far as the address and everything. Josh will email you or Carlos will email you. One of them will. Both of them will.
Yeah,
Okay,
if
perfect. Thank
anything, I've joked with a lot of you guys, especially when I asked you to volunteer, that I'm going to be texting you more than your wife or your husband will. Okay, so
He's not kidding.
you will be more than informed as to what to do, Janice. Trust me, you will know the information, so you will not be lost.
Perfect. Thanks, Genesis. That was a great question. Okay, Bobby, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I heard y'all talking about the practice roster. Is that coming out tonight or is that coming out tomorrow?
That's TBD. Josh and I will have to talk about it. You know, I'm trying to help all the coaches because a lot of them, volunteered, and even though they have so many other things going on. So Josh and I will talk. We'll send you an update no matter what tonight via text. Okay.
There you go. All right, good question, Bobby. Sorry we didn't have a better answer for you. And moving on to Cassandra. Or maybe Cassandra. I asked you to unmute. You still have a question, Cassandra? Oh, there we go.
Sorry, my son was crying. Sorry.
Okay.
Which referee certification should I do for 6U?
Oh yeah, nice.
That's awesome.
6U. Go for it.
Regional. Get your regional.
Okay.
To answer your question, Cassandra, so actually for 6U, we don't have required referees. The coaches will be the refs, and we'll explain that when we have a division meeting. But yeah, you're not required to become a referee at 6U, but we highly encourage it because I'm sure you're going to coach
Right.
next season at U, and we would appreciate the volunteer. So yeah, you or your husband can do it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Great, Cassandra. Thank you. And Alex? Oh, I asked him to unmute and then he disappeared.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'm still here.
Oh, there you
Can
are.
guys hear me? Yeah. Okay, great guys. So this is like my first time coaching and using the I guess the app that we saw. So I was just having a quick question. Is there an org? I just downloaded, it says create an org, join the org. So do we gotta join an organization or is this just creating a new team and then just have it that way?
For Game Changer, yes, you would just go to create a new team.
Okay, so that's straightforward. Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Yep, you got it. Good question.
Yeah, and actually, guys, on our website, Jaime put on there very good detailed instructions on how to actually go about downloading the app and starting the team and stuff, whatever. So if you go to our website, like I said earlier, everything we do, everything we say, everything we send out is on our website. But if you go to, I think under coaches resources, I think it is.
Yeah, the coach
Game
portal,
Changer.
coach resources. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll tell you exactly what to do with the Game Changer app.
Perfect. Awesome, Josh. We're
All right.
all good to go.
I think so. Unless anyone has anything else last minute, this is your chance. If not, once again, thank you for your time. I appreciate you all.